Hi there. So I want to talk about the cars I drove in October and November 2021 in this video. The reason I'm combining both the cars I drove is because at the heart of it, they use very similar engines and gearbox technologies. I had the Hyundai i20 N-Line that features the 1-liter turbocharged engine with the 7-speed DCT gearbox, and the Volkswagen Taigun 1.5 GT TSI that has a 1.5-liter turbocharged petrol engine and again a 7-speed dual clutch, which Volkswagen Group calls DSG. Very similar engines and very similar gearbox technologies. They're not similar engines, it's the technologies that are very similar. There are many videos explaining how a turbocharger works, but basically, just to explain it, a turbocharger uses the exhaust gases of the engine to suck in more air and make the engine burn better. You can think of it like blowing air into a bonfire to get the wood burning better. And then there is the dual clutch gearbox. Basically, you have a clutch for the odd numbered gears and a clutch for the even numbers gear. Now, the reason you only have an odd number of gears in the top is because the even shaft actually has the reverse gear on it as well. But basically what a dual clutch gearbox does is have the other clutch always primed. So when you go from first to second, the second gear is already engaged on the even gearbox. Similarly, when you go from second to third, so gear changes happen very quickly. Anyway, enough of me talking. Now let's go on to the reviews, starting with the Hyundai i20.
Hi there. So this i20 N-Line that I've had for the last 2 months almost is going back tomorrow, and I'm a bit sad. Whenever a car goes back, I get a bit sad. But I've had it for 2 months, and between me and my wife, we've driven this car over 1,000 kilometers. So the headline number, I have to tell you, over 1,000 kilometers, having fun, not driving it very slowly. Here I am on the DND heading back to Delhi, 69 kilometers an hour, which is just 1 kilometer an hour under the speed limit over here. Don't use cruise control here, I'll have to brake sooner or later. But we've done 1,008 kilometers so far, and I'm getting 14.1 kilometers a liter, 1,008 kilometers over about 37 hours of driving. So an average speed of about 28 kilometers an hour, which is standard for a city like Delhi. Delhi has slightly higher speed roads than most other Indian cities, so road speeds in Delhi tend to be slightly higher. I think this is a very decent speed to be driving at, and getting 14 kilometers a litre at times when fuel costs what they do, petrol costs 100 rupees plus in Delhi, isn't bad at all, particularly for a car that's designed for you to have a bit of fun. But is the i20 N-Line worth it? I mean, of course, you get this red counter stitching over here. You get these little red trim accents on the AC louvers and the door handles. You of course get this little N-Line sticker here, and you get the flappy paddle gearbox, and of course N-Line carpets as well. N-Line logos across the car at the front and the back. But the main change aesthetically from the front is, other than this brilliant blue color, is the dual exhaust, which, when you do put the pedal to the metal, makes a lot nicer noise than the regular i20 Asta with the same turbo engine. So this i20 N-Line costs exactly 1 lakh rupees more than the i20 top end i20 Asta with the same gearbox and engine. The regular Asta doesn't come with a flappy paddle. And the question everybody rightly should ask, is it worth the 1 lakh rupee more just for a few trim additions such as the front air dam and the, what do you call it, the dual tip exhaust and the flappy paddle gearbox, and different alloys and a little bit of suspension adjustments? Honestly, the i20 Asta with the DCT is a lot of fun to drive. as much as flappy paddle gearboxes are nice to have, I don't end up using them too often. Definitely not in traffic like this, I can't really gun it. I don't want to break the speed limits. I don't encourage people to break traffic rules. If you drive that aggressively, you should have empty stretches of road. Of course, if you get a nice empty stretch of road, you flip it down to second gear and take off. Well, so be it. But honestly, yeah, it is. It is. I mean, there is a fun element to the suspension. If you got a turn like this, coming in at a bit of speed, you can have a bit of fun. So, yeah, I enjoyed having this car. I mean, I love the color, I love the accents, I love the way it looks. It's expensive. It's expensive. I mean, you'll get a car in a segment larger for pretty much the same amount of money, even though that's possibly a slightly lower end variant, not with all the bells and whistles. This car comes with all the bells and whistles. Yeah, so this is an expensive car, and you've got to really think twice about spending the 1 lakh extra. But I still think the i20 is a brilliant car. Hi there. So this not exactly a long-termer, but a medium-termer Volkswagen Taigun I've had for the last month or so is going back today. So I'll just do a return review. Driven the car for 18 hours and 437 kilometers, and it's given an average of 12.2 kilometers a liter. I drove it extensively around Diwali, and as you know, around Diwali there's a lot of traffic in Delhi. So this car was stuck in traffic a lot. So it even gave 12.2 kilometers in Delhi. But I'm pretty sure in regular traffic conditions and with AC on and moderate load, you can easily stretch this car to about 13 kilometers a liter, which might sound high for some people, but you got to keep in mind this is a 1.5 liter engine with 150 PS. It's not it's a quite powerful car indeed. It's a good car to drive. So how is the Taigun to live in the city with? Well, it's got road presence. It's got, in my opinion, better road presence than the Skoda Kushaq. Well, we are low on fuel now. It has to go back today. It's got better road presence than the Skoda Kushaq because of the chrome and the lights in front and the bar, the tail light bar. I like the display on this car, the wireless Apple CarPlay. If I do have a couple of issues, let me make them clear. One of them is that the wireless charger, great feature to have, but it does heat up the phone a bit. And in a country like India where ambient temperatures are fairly high, it can create problems. The other problem many people have is the charging points over here. The two USB chargers, USB-C chargers up front and two at the back. USB Type-C is still not the dominant charging lead nowadays. It is becoming more common, but most people have USB-A connectors, and that can be a bit irritating. The other features about this car that some people talk about compared to the competition is that it has a single sunroof, not a panoramic, and no seat ventilation. I do really like the quality of the interiors, though. I think they're superior to that what you get on the Korean competition. However, it must be said that both the Creta and the Seltos are just a little bit larger. In fact, the Taigun and the Kushaq sit very comfortably between the Venue and the Creta, if you have to look at the segments. I like the display. It's not a widescreen display like, again, the Koreans have. But overall, this has been a very nice car to drive. It's been very pleasant. Decent fuel economy, but for a 1.5 liter turbo with the 7-speed DSG, not bad at all. In terms of the engine and drivetrain, I think this is actually superior to the 1.4 turbo you get from the Korean cars, and this DSG gearbox is, in my opinion, superior even in the city to the DCT of the Koreans. Of course, right now we live in a time where getting deliveries is a problem. So even the Taigun, I believe, has a 2.5 month wait list. Might even be extending as more people like this car. So my thoughts after driving it for a few weeks is that this car is actually more suited to a younger family. What I do like is the fact on this car, one thing I did like having a baby in a child seat, is that the ISO fixed points are exposed on this car. The rear bench isn't the best because you've got those plastic inserts on the back. So if you have 3 full-size adults at the back, it could be uncomfortable for the guys on the sides rather than the guy in the middle. But honestly, this car underpins Volkswagen's new strategy in India, and it's a very good car. Compliments and kudos to Volkswagen for building this car. I look forward to new cars coming from the Volkswagen group, such as the Skoda Slavia in the coming weeks, and the Volkswagen Virtus, which is the Volkswagen's version of that sedan.